Hello, this is Cynthia Sue Larson with RealityShifters.com, and I'm here today to talk to you about mastering our fears and creating a positive 2012. So I've got a quote, and it starts off, "If we are not responsible for the thoughts that pass our doors, we are at least responsible for those we admit and entertain." This is a quote by Charles Newcomb, and the importance and significance of it to me is that basically this is something most of us do in life. We don't even necessarily recognize when it's happening, but when I look back to some of the scariest days in my life, when I moved away from home, going to college at UC Berkeley, majoring in physics, just moving away from home in itself was a pretty big step for me because I was painfully shy at the time. And then when I got to UC Berkeley, I found out that there were only a handful of women enrolled in the physics department. So in most of my classes, I was the only girl in the class, which compounded my nervousness. And then we were on the quarter system, and I was pretty much afraid of all sorts of these things. Putting it all together made it slightly terrifying. And when I got my first report card, I was in tears when I got C's on that first quarter report card from UC Berkeley. And I remember very clearly that something remarkable happened, because I was just in the midst of wondering, how am I going to tell my parents that I'm not doing that well in school? In fact, I was worried I might be flunking out. Maybe this meant I'm not going to make it. Maybe that's why I don't see any girls in the classes. It's mostly young Asian men. What am I doing here? You know, this quarter system is too fast. All these things are going through my head. But then my roommate bounces over to me and she asked, "Did you pass?" I looked at her dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. I looked at Catherine and I said, "Yes, I passed." I was going to continue on and say more of my grief and tale of woe and fears and all that. She wouldn't have any of it. She said, "Let's celebrate." And the reason I share this story with you, because it was a huge turning point for me. And that's the moment when I realized that I was tormenting myself more than any of my circumstances were troubling or tormenting me. And that was truly a pivotal moment, an epiphany, and it's something I frequently look back on with gratitude for my roommate Catherine and her ability to look at something that looked like my darkest day. I'd always gotten straight A's. Here I am getting C's. I thought I'd really failed. I didn't know how I was going to tell my parents, and she turned it around so I could see. Suddenly, it didn't look so bad. I realized, yeah, I did pass, which I had never considered the fact that some people don't. I guess even though I thought I was failing, I didn't really consider how bad things could be. So looking at the flip side, the glass was definitely half full, and everything got better from then on. And I'm mentioning that because a lot of times in our lives, we don't see when this is happening. We don't see when something that we are not mastering inside of ourselves is consuming us. Often, instead of being responsible for these thoughts and feelings, we blame it on the economy, or we blame it on our employer, or we blame it on an ex, someone that we used to be with. This is misplacement, pretty much in all cases. What we can do is look within ourselves, master those feelings, and recognize that we don't need to be afraid of anything. So that's what I learned. Love to share that with you today. And also I'm excited because it ties in with something a lot of us are afraid of this year. We're coming up on 2012, and this book, 2012, Creating Your Own Shift, is outstanding. This is something I highly recommend. It's authored by 37 experts in the field of consciousness and spirituality, and also metaphysics in 2012. So you'll get a lot of practical information as well as some very high-powered epiphanies in terms of how to make light of the situation and find the best in every moment. Another book that I'm really pleased to tell you about this month is called Twitters, and it's an unusual name. You might wonder, what is that? This book is by Anita Holmes, and it's the exploration of the time-lost continuum and travel. She actually has a lot of reality shifts in this book as well. It's not just things having to do with time loops. It's not just a matter of the amazing stories of dinosaurs that people have actually seen flying overhead, pterodactyls and raptors walking the earth. To me, that was astonishing. She includes as well a story dating back to the 16th century when a soldier somehow instantly transported himself from the Philippines to Mexico. I'm not going to give away all the details, but I will say that this book is packed with hundreds of reality shift stories and time shift stories. And I know that if you're interested in these things as much as I am, you'll definitely want to get a copy of this book. And last but not least, I want to remind you that if you have fears about money, you don't need to. We're talking about fears this month, and something that you can improve your relationship with, just like anything else in your life. Like I improved my relationship with UC Berkeley in the physics department, and we can improve our relationship with fearfulness about 2012. You can do the same thing with money. So if you've got some concerns and you feel like I just don't know how to bring money into my life, or I've never been good at it, or it always slips through my fingers, or you've got any of these kind of beliefs, check this book out. I think you'll love what you see when you look inside the book at Amazon, and you can get it in Kindle and print format, as well as an ebook through my website. So until next month, I hope you'll keep asking how good can it get. I look forward to hearing all of your stories, and take care.